Greetings all, welcome back. Macro Talk, it's Tuesday, 8 o'clock in the evening, and we have some competition stuff to talk about. How's everybody doing? Well, I hope. I see all the usual suspects are here, and it's good to see you again, Joseph. We missed you over the holidays. Good to have you back. Alistair, thank you. Thank you for being here and for all you do. And yeah, Susan, Andrew, Arthur, I wrote to you. I hope you got my message. We should talk at some point. Tonight we're going to be talking about the competition and about a part of the competition that you didn't get to see, and that will be coming up in just a minute. Thursday we're going to get a little bit more general, and I know we've had this conversation before, but on Thursday I want to tell you exactly how to win this macro competition. I'm going to give you a recipe to follow. That's my microphone, by the way. Sorry about that. Not very professional, is it? There we go. That's a little better. So that's what we're going to do on Thursday. On Saturday, Bud is flying solo. He's going to do afterstack by himself because I'm going to be photographing Amish horses. I did not know there was such a thing until about 2 days ago, but apparently there is, and I'm going to be photographing them. So afterstack will just be with Bud, and for the life of me I can't remember what he's going to be talking about, but as soon as I find out I'll let you know. Several people have got in touch with me to ask where the cross polarizer files are. That is the files for my homemade cross polarizer that I made, and excuse me. Yeah, there was a big black thing on my screen that looked like I had a melanoma coming out of my nose. People asked me, where did I put the files? Well, I didn't post the files because they were a horrendous mess by the time I was finished. They were so untidy and disorganized, I didn't think anybody would get much out of them, so I didn't post them. However, as any of you who have read the post from yesterday know, I have made a new version of it that's a lot easier to use and a little bit more compact, because that was one of the prizes in the competition, and I will be posting the drawings and the specs for that. If you want to make one, if you want to print the parts and put one together, you'll be able to do that quite soon. You may also have seen that one of the prizes in the competition yesterday was a collection of chemicals, sample chemicals for making crystals. I thought about doing this a while ago, and I put together a selection of my 10 favorite chemicals that make the most interesting crystals, and I've got them all in little bottles and in a 3D printed rack that closes. It's very, very nice, very fancy. I would show it to you, but I don't have it on the desk, and somebody's going to ask if those things are available too, those collections. I will be making them available. I haven't decided how yet, but if you're interested, do let me know, and I'll put you on the list of interested people. So one thing that we need to cover, it is January after all. What do you want me to focus on in the live streams for the coming year? We have 104 of them, so pretty much anything you suggest I will be happy to talk about. It can be demonstrations, it can be equipment, it can be technique. We can do whatever you want. What do you want to do in the live streams? What would make you enthusiastic about coming back? And yeah, let me know. Do it tonight, just while you're thinking about it. Put a little note in there. There are many things coming up in the next few weeks. Unfortunately, my meeting with Zamir of the AK Diffuser company did not go through yesterday. We had a little bit of disconnection on the scheduling, but we are meeting in a couple of weeks, and I will get that video finished and get it out to you. It's a review and an interview with Zamir. Something else that hopefully will be coming up soon is the review and discussion around the new Shibuya microscope objectives. I'm beginning to wonder if actually they are going to arrive, because a friend of mine ordered some the day before Christmas and got them 3 days later. So, you know, it's about a month ago that they told me they were sending them. So I don't know. I don't know if we'll see them or not. But if we don't, then we'll come up with another way of doing it. Those of you who have watched the competition results video with Lester and I will be delighted to hear that Lester is coming back. He's going to come and visit one of our live streams. Don't know which one yet. He wants to talk to you about Lightroom, about using Lightroom to organize your photographs. He's a bit of a zealot about that. I'm terrible about it, and I think that part of the reason is he wants me to have to listen to him tell everybody else how to do it, so I'll do it too. So Lester will be back to give us a Lightroom tutorial live on one of these programs. Don't know when. I'll let you know as soon as I do. So let me know if you have any suggestions, and I will make note of them. Okay. The news is the competition, of course. This was a massive competition. 2 months, 3 submissions a person. We had about 100 entries, which I must say was a lot fewer than I was expecting. But I'm kind of glad it was just 100, because it took Lester and I 2 days to judge this competition. But many congratulations to Roy Walker in 10th place, Ingolf Kuntz in 9th, Harold Hall in 8th, Alan Lyle in, what, did I miss one? 7th, Paul Bullock in 6th, Julie Botts in 5th, someone with a Sony in 4th place, our very own Robert Storost in 3rd place, with something that I still don't know what it is. Robert, if you're here tonight, would you tell me what it is? I would really love to know. Klaus Gilloy, to nobody's surprise, in number 2, and the winner from Australia, Merrick Bailey, with a remarkable photograph that I'm sure we'll look at again tonight at some point. We also talked about the 10 honourable mentions that Lester and I came up with, and it is true that we could have easily come up with another 15 or 20. We had, let me see, Philip Mortensen, Russ Richards. Russ, good evening, how are you? Lovely picture of the pheasant feather, by the way. Klaus Gilloy was one of the few people that actually showed up in the honourable mentions, as well as the winner's circle, as well as tonight's program, but I'll explain that when we get to it. Let me see, Roy Walker, well, he's one of the other ones that showed up twice. Rashid Al-Samati, our very own Amy Furman, good evening Amy, and George Simpkins, John Sperry, Jesus Sanchez, and Pierre Sereau, and of course Robert Storost. Okay, Storost, so I was wrong. There are several people who showed up in both the honourable mentions and the places. But what I was upset about at the end of this process, when it was all said and done, was I was left with a stack of images that are absolutely awesome. They're fantastic. And they didn't get an honourable mention, but they deserved one. And admittedly, at some point, you have to draw the line. And when Lester and I sat down and planned this, we decided that 10 places and 10 honourable mentions would be it. That would be the cutoff. And we wanted to stick to that because we knew that would be less than an hour of video time, and we'd get to talk about all of the photographs that way. But what happened was we ended up with photographs that could, on a different day, on a different hour, would have made it through into the honourable mentions, or could have even made it through into the places. And I just didn't feel good about not recognising those people and their work. I also thought it would be just terrible to pass up an opportunity to point out the one or two minor things that may have tipped the balance and put them up in the places or in the honourable mentions. And I think we just ought to do that because I know how hard it is to enter a competition, and I know how depressing it is not to see your results, not to see your effort pay off. So I really want to do that this evening in a positive light. This is not going to be criticism. I am going to give some tips and advice for things that may have helped to tip the balance, but it's not going to be a critical thing. If you want criticism of any of your photographs and you are a member of Patreon, then please get in touch with me. I will give you a written outline of how we arrived at the decision we did, whether you want to know why you didn't place higher or didn't place at all. Get in touch with me, and all my Patreon people I will do that for. That's something I always do for Patreon folks. So if you want to know why you didn't place higher, get in touch with me and I will give you a critique of the photograph. But tonight we're going to take a more gentle look at these photographs that ended up in what I called the 12th place, which was all the 11ths with the runner-ups, and I had a whole file of photographs that ended up being in 12th place. These are the so close images, and I don't know how many there are. It looks to me like there are probably about 18, and I'll go through them, and we'll get through as many of them as we can. Let me make sure that they're going to show up as they need to, and yes, they are. I'm not going to be able to see your comments, by the way, guys, so bear with me. I will. There we go. I'll look from time to time underneath the photographs just to see if there's anything I need to respond to. Yeah, so be sure to put your comments in there, and maybe there's a way that I could get somebody to prompt me if there is a message that needs to be addressed. So let's start with this one, and of course these are not in any specific order. They are in the order that I had them in my file, but I went through all of the entries. Let me say one last thing before we begin with this one. If you don't see your photograph here either, that does not mean it was not a good photograph. It just meant that it was overwhelmed by the amount of talent that was also in the competition. These particular photographs that I'm going to show you in the next little bit are pictures that could very, very easily have made it to the end. This first one is from John Sperry. This is a moth. It's a kind of creepy looking look at a moth, but he got almost everything right in this. I mean, the focus is stacked, obviously, but it's shallow. It's just the head, the antennae, the eyes, which are clean and sharp and lovely. Everything is good. The bug has been cleaned. And is in pristine shape. Why this didn't get into the finals was more of a matter of there were photographs that were more arresting, more unusual, more unique than this, and this had a fairly predictable feel to it. I also think that I'm not going. By the way, I'm not going to at any point in this say that it was Lester or I that agreed or disagreed, or where we fell on this. Lester and I judged this competition together, and the results are our results. We agreed on everything, and at the end of the day, we are giving you these results as ours. So every decision that was made as far as winnowing out the other entries was also ours. So I won't be getting into any more specifics than that. We just felt that this lacked originality and pop, though it would be hard to say that if you were just looking at this photograph by itself. You'd say, well, that's pretty original. But it was up against some very, very steep competition. We both liked it, and we agonized about doing this. And there's another thing that this points out, and that is there was a tendency for us to not move up a photograph if that photographer already had a photograph in the places or in the honorable mentions. And that was less deliberate than just what seemed like a decent thing to do. There were a lot of people who put their work in, and we felt that if somebody had placed highly in the competition, their other photograph had to be absolutely outstanding to also be in the honorable mentions. And that's just the way it goes. I think that's human nature. Neither Lester nor I wanted to see the whole competition stacked at the top, unless it was absolutely necessary. Okay, so enough waffling. The next one is a lovely photograph from Emily Malmström. This is a forest bolete, a mushroom in the forest, and it's lovely. It's almost a monochromatic type picture in that the palette is very limited with greens, and even the cap of the mushroom looks a bit green. But it is very. It tells an interesting story. The moss looks fantastic. The focal plane is chosen well. Everything about this is appealing, except I think the composition. It looked a little unbalanced to the judges, and it's hard to put a finger on exactly what it was. It was almost as if there was too much distracting, interesting stuff in the foreground to give the mushroom its starring role. And seeing as the title was Forest Bolete, we knew that this was what our attention was supposed to be focused on. I felt that a little extra light bounced up may have helped change that, or the use of a slight vignette. But anyway, a lovely picture, very enjoyable to look at. There was something else I was going to say, and then I completely. Oh no, it was about titles. So many of you missed an opportunity to grab some easy points by giving your photograph an interesting, fun, or descriptive title. I'm dead serious, and this was both of us judging this competition. We were looking at titles, and I always do look at titles, and there were some titles that were so uninspired it was hard to get too excited about the photograph. I know this isn't a photograph title competition, but there were so many opportunities that I thought could have given you that extra little nudge. It doesn't necessarily have to be clever or funny. It just has to be a title, and some of them were just numbers, dates and things like that, which never is going to go well. This is a fascinating photograph that we really liked from Roy Walker. It's golden dung fly, though I assume it's actually golden dung flies, because while these look like they're mirror images, the legs would suggest that they're not. They're crossing in different places. The front legs are anyway. So I'm assuming that, maybe wrongly, that this is actually two dung flies. I'd love to know. I'd love to know if this is. I don't think there was a mention that this was composited, but these are very interesting little creatures. They're great to photograph. I love photographing these myself. I've never never photographed them like this before. We liked the background. It was kind of soothing to look at. It was humorous. It looked like these were two old codgers having a chat on the pavement. Yeah, I thought that it had a lot of possibility, and almost did quite well. You know, the more I look at it, though, I'm still perplexed by the fact that parts of it, like the hind limbs, appear to be a mirror image, but the forelimbs, the middle legs, appear not to be. I wonder what that is. Am I just... No, there's nothing is crossing this leg, but there is over here. So I don't know. I don't know if what we're supposed to think about this. I took this to be two different flies, or the same fly shot in two different ways from each side, or something like that. Either way, lovely, interesting, well-executed photograph. Hardly any artifact in it at all. In fact, I'm not even sure if this was stacked. It must have been. But yeah, I don't see any artifact at all. Lovely photograph. Not much I would have changed about this, except possibly making it a little bit clearer whether we were looking at two flies or one. And maybe you would argue, well, the title says one, golden dungfly, in which case, fair enough. I stand corrected. Annie Alcock submitted this photograph as my computer desperately tries to retrieve it from a desktop hard drive, of an iris. Not the kind of iris that lives in your camera, but the kind of iris that lives in Annie's garden. This is part of an iris. Gosh knows, I have no idea what part of the iris this is. Presumably it's got a name. We liked it. We liked it a lot. I liked the abstract feel of it, the color, the soft and gentle palette, and the lighting from the back. Very appealing, and not really sure exactly what this structure is that's the focal point, but doesn't really matter. When you're looking at something for the texture and the color and the feel of it, it works. It lacked the pop that both of the judges were looking for in photographs, even though this was something that was a little bit more unusual. Possibly a little more context, and this appears to be a single focal plane shot. So there is always an argument that could be made for getting the whole of this structure in focus with a few stacked images. But yeah, interesting, but didn't quite make it. There was some serious back and forth between the two judges over this one, because one of us absolutely loved it and thought it was fascinating. The other one thought it was a bit boring. Not boring, lacking pizzazz. This is a seed that I have never seen before. It's a Leavenworth Oringo seed, whatever in the world that might be. I just thought this was fantastic. It looked like either a bunch of lampreys eating a fish, or a meteor breaking through the atmosphere. I loved the black and white. It just worked for me. And sorry, I did it, didn't I? I said I wasn't going to do that. For both of us, we loved it. It was just, in this particular case, George had already submitted a really incredible, I can't remember what it was, seed, the black shiny seed that you may have seen in the video, and that, I think, reduced some of the impetus on moving this a little bit higher. I thought, looking at it, that this might be a little bit more appealing were it on its end, meaning if this part was at the bottom and this was at the top, because, you know, this almost looks like flames, and I think that might have made the picture more of a grabby kind of shot. There was another picture of an insect that I can't remember who submitted it. It might be in this stack actually, but it lost out because of the orientation of the photograph. It was looked unbalanced. I think that this would have benefited from being on its end. That would be one thing I'd suggest. But I do love the black and white, definitely. Well, I said that there was at least one person who appeared not only in the top 10, but also in the honourable mentions, and also in the also ran so close category, and that is Klaus Galoy, who also gave us this picture. This is such an incredible portrait of a robber fly with what looks like a house fly speared on its mouth parts. It's just lovely. I think that the reason that we chose the Galoy photograph we did as the winner was this was a little more contrasty than maybe we would have liked. I think the background was fairly nice, uniform, not particularly interesting. I was slightly put off by this area of shadow because I was interested in the feet, and I was looking, and yeah, it's hard to say that really there was anything that would have pushed this out of the top 10 had he not had two pictures already in the top 20. But lovely photograph, a difficult capture. One of the things about Klaus's shots is it takes time and work and patience to find these shots. It really does. They seldom just appear in front of you. You have to look for them. Another picture that I absolutely loved and still do is this. It's just my kind of abstract shot. It's from Russ Richards. This is Lord of the Ring, and which was strange. That was also another picture's title in the competition, I believe. But this is just a lovely abstract shot. It's I believe it's a feather. Can't be sure of that, or might be just a piece of fabric. I don't really know. But the focal point is this gorgeous drop of water. I was not the least bit put off by the ring of light, though some people may be. It didn't bother me at all. It just added interest to the picture. What was a little bit off-putting, just a little bit, was what appears to be an inverted figure, a reflection in the water drop. It's a minor point. It's still a lovely picture. I love the way that Russ has taken a slice of focus to reveal the drop of liquid, and left everything else in a very pleasing, soft, out-of-focus bokeh. It's a very successful monochrome picture, and I enjoyed it. Let me see. From Philippe Clemente, Lurking Thomisus, which will open here momentarily, I think. Here it is. This is a crab spider lurking in a green plant, some kind of plant, can't really tell. And it is very interesting. It has a few flaws that were hard to overlook. I think that you can't help the fact that the spider is hiding in the shade, right? We get that. But the fact that the parts around the spider are brighter and more in the foreground, while that may help with the storytelling, it actually detracts a little bit because we weren't sure what we were supposed to be looking at. There also appeared to be a little geometric issue here, whether this leaf, which is clearly, I think, in the foreground, was going between these legs or what, if this was possibly some transparency. It was hard to tell exactly where these legs and this leaf were going. And there were a couple of tiny areas of motion artifact. All in all, it was a very successful idea, a very interesting picture. But I think from a technical standpoint, there would have been ways to get a little more light on the subject and use some after stack type post-processing tricks to lessen the involvement of the surroundings. I get it. I mean, I completely understand why you composed this the way you did. I mean, this is what crab spiders do. They wait for their prey. We get that, definitely. It just I think there are some tricks you could have used to make the subject a little bit more obvious or a little bit more clear in the picture. Okay, now we're going to look at one more from this list before I go check the comments to see if there's anybody is screaming at me yet. This is a male flying peacock spider. It's a jumping spider by Greg West. It'll open in just a second. Here it is. It is a very, very nice, appealing photograph, and this should give you, as if you needed any further convincing, an idea of how tough this competition was, because this is a really nice picture. This would have done well in any of our competitions. The color, which is surprising and very well done to put a spider with this much color in a very low key, almost monochrome surrounding. There's nothing here to distract you from the spider, which is good and part of the problem, in that there appears to be some focus banding. Whether or not this was a single shot or more than one, if it was a single shot, it's hard for me to explain why part of the middle of the face here appears to be a little soft, whereas the rest of it is good and sharp. It may be a single focal plane, and I'm looking at something that's coming out into the foreground to the outer focus place. It was a minor problem, and all in all, a really, really good photograph. I think that both of us at one point had this in the honorable mentions, and it ended up getting squeezed out by a couple of other photographs that we just thought had a little more impact. Though this was rocking. It really was. Lovely picture. Here's the area that I was talking about that looks a little out of focus. Maybe it's just my eyes. Let me take a quick look at the messages, see if there's anything I need to be responding to. Give me a chance to close a few of these photographs so my computer doesn't melt. So, what do you think? Did you see the video? Did you enjoy it? Was Lester on top form? I think he was. I think he was doing well. Bruce Malcolm's here. That's fantastic. And let me see. Russ, you thought you didn't expect people to like what? That lovely picture? The one I just showed? No, it's fantastic. Joseph says wrong kind of plant. The crab spider should be lurking in the crabgrass. Okay, or among crab apples. This is not to be taken seriously. This is Joseph's interpretation of nature, and he's not good at that. He's not good at that. No, it was the plant was just fantastic. Let me see. It's a feather, Alan, says Russ. That's what we were looking at. That the thing that I thought was some fabric. Okay, it's a feather. Good. It was a different feather though. It wasn't the same. No, can't have been. Okay, all right. There's nobody is screaming at me yet. All right. and there are no messages on the back channel, so I think we're good to go. Joseph, oh poof, now I see a small person in the center of the picture wearing a hat with furry ears. I wish I knew what picture was up at the time. Oh, I see Russ said it was a 4-second exposure. Okay, that would have been of the water drop. Interesting. Very nice. Let's get back to the pictures. There is a mantis portrait from Greg West is next. And I love this picture. It is a very good portrait of a mantis, and there's not much wrong with it. I think that both the judges would have liked a little bit more light. I know that it's fairly bright, but we felt like we were missing some of the interest areas. It's clever, and I absolutely love the way these pseudo-pupil spots appear to be glancing down and to the side, as if somebody has just distracted this guy while he was talking. Yeah, there's really not much. There's not much to detract from this picture, other than thinking the lighting was a little bit on the dark side. Yeah, I liked it. I think just a tiny bit more exposure down here to show the mouth parts, which are so interesting. I see why you did it this way. I mean, I really do. It's a beautiful specimen. You got your focus is great. This may fall in the category of, yeah, it was a fantastic photograph, but there were a few that we just thought were fantastica. That's a word. It's not a word. Mohammed Rafi submitted this photograph of mating wasps. Now, the first thing that Lester and I said when we saw this was, are you sure? Are you sure that looks like one wasp getting ready to eat another wasp of a slightly different species? But who knows? I mean, that is some aggressive mating, because normally when I see a wasp doing this, it's right before this head falls off. And they do that. They do use their mandibles to chomp into things. Of course, this could just be a passionate wasp activity. I think that we both found the picture a little confusing. Of course, it's a confusing scene. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be easy. But the focal plane was a little bit out of line. We've got these legs in good sharp focus. The whole abdomen here and most of this abdomen are out of focus. Heads and thoraces are in. It felt like it was shot without due care to getting sideways on. Of course, we don't know how it was shot, other than it just there were some confusing parts of it. I think we would have liked to see just a little bit more diffused light on the subject and a little bit less on the background. Hard to say if that could have been done successfully. You've got some pretty bright highlights going on. Very nice picture, but at the end of the day, I'm not sure either of us was convinced that this was mating behavior. It looked a lot like dinner behavior, but I would have to hear what an entomologist said about that. Yeah, because I'm just not sure. It was a good picture, though. It was a good picture. This was one that was in one of the judges' honorable mentions. In fact, this thing bounced around more than I know. It's trying to get pulled from the hard drive. Here it is. It's from Robert Stowross. Beautiful Garbage. Great title. It's that kind of tumbled glass fragments that looks like the stuff you find on the beach. Bits of glass that have been worn away by the sea. I love this photograph. I love the color, the contrast, the shapes. It's just a nice, soothing, mostly blue kind of abstract that was very appealing. It lacked the kind of storytelling and focal point of interest that some of the other honourable mentions that did make it through got. But this was awfully close. Technically, it was beautiful. Robert, you really know what you're doing with the camera. The thing was in focus. And one thing that just occurred to me in looking at it was how it might have been a little bit more attention-grabbing if you had managed to shoot some transillumination, showing maybe just a fraction of the exposure, but coming through the glass. I don't know. I'd have to see what it looked like, but it seemed like a possible opportunity. While we're at it, with being picky, this little fragment bothered me, just because everything else looked so perfect. Don't know why. Not important, but very nice. Well, our winner also had a photograph that was so good it had to at least be mentioned at some point publicly. This is Merrick Bailey also. This is Polistes in flight. I did not ask Merrick if they had somehow mastered the insects in flight machine. I don't know if this was all done handheld or how. It doesn't matter. But this is absolutely a classic Polistes flight. This is the way they look in flight. I photograph them in flight quite a lot because these guys are relatively slow compared to other insects. You can often get a good capture, but I've never got one quite this good. Both of the judges felt like there was just a little bit of underexposure, and it resulted in the colors, which are reds, yellows, and blacks, in getting just a little bit washed out. And what we both loved was the amount of detail in the appendages and the antennae, and I think we both really took to the soft blur at the wingtips, both in this and in the winning photograph, by the way, which was another masterpiece of insects in flight. But this was very successful. It lacked the majesty of the winning photograph, but not by much. Not by much. All right, a George Simpkins picture was another one that bounced around in the various different categories of top pictures. It's a very pleasing, very simple, very zen kind of photograph. Love the monochrome. When I looked at it, there were a couple of things that you know, when you're doing something like this, you want to choose the best possible specimen you have that gives the appearance. Well, that might not be accurate. I don't mean you want to pick the best. I mean I would want to find the subject that was as flawless as possible. There were a couple of things, tangles of leaves up in here and maybe a little bit in here and at this tip that made it look like a missed opportunity slightly. The fact that part of this part of the grass was a little out of focus when everything else was in such good focus. It kind of depends on the photograph. In this case, I think this is all a feel photograph. This is an understated, nature at its finest kind of picture, and it's supposed to be. I think it's supposed to be spare and reserved in its detail. In which case, this is a bit of a distraction to me. But that is an incredibly minor point. We both loved the picture. It was very close to making it through. One picture we got that it was the only picture that Paco Origin, forgive me, Paco, we haven't met, so I don't know how to pronounce your name, but I loved this. This was I'm guessing here, it's a piece of glass or a piece of some mineral with inclusions in it, and it's just been shot as a slice with some illumination behind it. I don't know what it is, but it's absolutely gorgeous, and it's full of interesting shapes, and the colors, blue and yellow, very, very complementary and pleasing to look at. I honestly don't know what it is. It's titled Inside, which is clever, and I like it, but I don't know what it means. I looked at this picture for a long, long time and thoroughly enjoyed it. It reminded me in some ways of later paintings by what's his name? Oh, I can't remember. I've forgotten the painter's name, but yeah, it's reminiscent of some artwork. It'll come to me in a minute. But lovely. I love this picture. A little more light, possibly. A little more careful light to bring up the rest of the detail that was missing. Maybe not. And these specular areas up here would have made me consider possibly a slightly squarer crop. Hard to say, because cutting this off is also going to take this cool detail away from in here. Anyway, Paco, it was a lovely photograph. Julie Botts, who was 5th place in the competition, also submitted this, which is a black and white study of an 18 gauge hypodermic needle. Now, it disappeared. It's a disappearing needle. Let's see if we can get it back. There it is. Now, this was a clever picture. We enjoyed it. We recognized what it was right away. Couple of things that I think cost it. One was the fact that it was a bit dirty or scratched, possibly, on the back. Otherwise, the thing that bothered me the most about it was it's upside down. We can't see the lumen of the needle, so we don't really know what it is. This is not the hole in the needle. The hole in the needle is underneath here and goes up in here. So if you were to look at it from the other side, you see this large flat opening where the needle is laser cut at the tip. So I thought it was a missed opportunity. It could have been a much more likely contender, I think, if it had been rotated anywhere between 90 and 180 degrees, just so that we could see that we were looking at a hypodermic needle. If I hadn't worked with these things for 30 years, I might not have known what it was. I might have thought it was a thorn or something else. The 18 gauge would have probably given it away, though. Good shot, very close to brilliant. Graham Carey had a couple of photographs submitted, and this one really, really caught my eye. It is only the fact that it was up against the incredible pictures you've already seen that it didn't go further. I don't even know what is in this liquid that makes it look like that. I don't know if it's paint suspended in water or fruit juice or what it is, but we've got a couple of pre-collision drops that are heading to the surface of this. I'm just not sure what it is I'm looking at, but I love actually the pattern of lighting that looks more like a spaceship than photographic lights, even that is what it is. A little off-put by the background and by the interface between whatever's going on back here, which is probably a dish or a plate of some kind. It was unfortunate. Made me think possibly if the angle of view had been dropped a little bit to where this was less obvious as the edge of a vessel. If we were either closer to the surface of the liquid or higher up to where we didn't see this, it would have been more successful. But very interesting, held my interest. There was another Julie Botts entry. Yes, I added this one because I think it is such a good example of how bizarre crystals can be. This is a black and white pano of a crystal. We don't know what kind of crystal it is, but it looks for all the world like an Escher sketch, a drawing. And the three-dimensionality of it is absolutely engaging. I mean, it really, really looks like a deep, it looks like a wave, crashing waves. It's beautiful. It's well done. It's got a few patchy areas that don't appear to be well in focus. They're a little bit softer. I don't know why that is, but this may be an acquired taste. It didn't grab one of the judges' interest as much as it did the other. You guess who that could possibly be. All right, another very close to the money shots was this Bite the Bullet, and that's, by the way, let me say something about titles. If your title was not part of the photograph, if it was not creative or anything like that, sometimes I shortened it so that I could get it on my notes. And in this case, it was Bite the Bullet Before the Bullet Bites You, was the full title, because I believe that this is a bullet ant. I don't know that because I, thank goodness, have never met one. But it's a lovely, lovely shot of an ant. My only concern about it was the fact that too much of it is too dark for me to make out detail, especially in the face. It is close to being spot on, and I have no problem with the selective focus, leaving the distant parts out of focus. I think that's fine. I found the unfortunate the position of the antenna. It was kind of a little bit confusing in here as to what exactly we were looking at until I figured out what was going on with the antenna. It makes you think maybe if it had been rotated just a tiny bit one way or the other to get some separation of the antenna, but a little more exposure in this area would have helped, I think. It's really a lovely picture. It's well done. It's a very novel way to shoot an ant. Alan Lyle, who showed up in the finals and won a prize, submitted this, and it is just an incredibly nice picture. It's a bee, of course, with mites in its eye, which is disgusting, but still beautiful. Beautiful shot. The only thing that grabbed my attention and just wouldn't get out of my eye line was this death posed forelimb. That just bothered me for some reason. I think something like this, when it's so tight and so clear and everything else is so symmetrical, this leg felt like it was photobombing its own photograph. A bit unfortunate, because this was a very nice picture, and I love the mites. There's another one back here, I believe. A little bit of post-production cleaning may have helped. little bit of the sand. I don't know, Alan, if you don't agree with that or you don't do that with your images, but I don't think it would have helped this problem. It busts up the symmetry too much. Okay, there's just a couple left. This one is from Harold Hall, and I love this picture. It's not opening, of course, but it's called Cherry's Jubilee, and it is a lovely. By the way, Harold did not misspell that. I misspelled it because I was in a hurry typing it. It's a typo, not a misspelling. I know how to spell Jubilee, but this is a cherry in the snow or ice, and I really like it. The only reason this didn't go further was because other things were more appealing to both judges. A few hot spots in the ice, as you would fully expect, and the background's a little smudgy in places, so it was close. It was close to being. It was a lovely composition. It was close to being super successful, but as was Harold's other picture, which was called Circuit City. This one was really nice. Normally, when we shoot things like circuit boards, we look for the most complicated part we can get. And this is different. This is more about the colors and the overlapping shapes. I really liked it. It was slightly bothersome to me that there were some areas that were a little bit out of focus down at the bottom, a little bit soft. Most of all, it was good. It looked like there might possibly have been a tiny bit of camera motion or subject motion when this was shot. But all in all, very pleasing mixture of colors and shapes. Nice abstract. There was just two more that I want to mention. One is by Ingolf Kuntz, and this deserves a mention because it is such a good photograph. And, you know, times have changed. When my friend Charlie Krebs submitted a photograph just like this to the Nikon Small World competition just a few years ago, he won it because nobody had seen anything like this before. But poor old Ingolf gets kicked out of the top 20 for something that seemed a little cliche, a little too predictable. That is a harsh thing to say because this is such a phenomenally good photograph. There are bits of dirt, some stacking artifact up in the hair where you can't avoid it, but where it really matters, down around the mouth parts, just fantastic. Especially these antennae, they look just remarkable. It lost a couple of points for fragments of dirt and dust that may have been blown off, and the obviously post-mortem desiccated appearance of the mouth parts. But by and large, a great photograph that simply was beaten out by the originality in the others. The last one I want to talk about in the last 3 minutes that I have is Russ Richards' Cuckoo Wasp. We both loved this, and I must say that you know this has a tremendous amount going for it. The problem is with the post-mortem changes in the eye, which may or may not have yielded to a little bit of Decon 90. But mostly it was the obviously post-mortem positioning of the bee. These bees are notoriously difficult to straighten out once they die and curl up. And this one is in full curl. If there had been a way for us to get this in a slightly more alive attitude, I think it would have done better. But it's beautiful as far as the management of the colors, the focus, and little artifact, if any, to worry about by and large, a successful photograph, just an unfortunate specimen. Okay, guys, that's the stuff I had to say. These are the photographs that have been bothering me, that they didn't get into the finals. They didn't get a mention in the video because either Lester or I or both of us really thought they should have done. But we had better arguments for the other ones that did, and that's just the way it goes in a competition. On Thursday, I'm gonna get away from our photographs, and I'll show examples of other people's photographs, not from the competition, to show you what the secret formula is to win this competition. And it's not a secret formula. It's just a list of things to remember to do. And if you do those things, you will drastically increase the chances of your winning. But we'll worry about that on Thursday. Let me see if there are any comments that I need to address. There probably are not, because we're out of time, but let me just close these insects down. Were a lot of insects in this competition, which tells me something very important about what you guys probably want to see more of. I would guess it was about 65-70% insect shots. So let me see. Great. Okay. I think Robert Storost, I will indeed give you a contact. I'll get in touch. I can't do so right this minute. I have something else I have to do. Oh, Joseph, silver veiled glass. A solution of glass and silver chloride shows amber where there's a rich atmosphere, and blue. Is that what it is? That's interesting. I didn't know that, Joseph. That's good to know. Zeno, it wasn't a sewing needle. It was a jabby in your hip needle. Okay, guys, we are out of time. I appreciate. David, did you feel like you were critiqued? I hope not. I hope not. I certainly didn't want to sound like I was critiquing anybody. Future contest idea from Zeno. Triptych composite of single subject in 3 positions, 3 poses. Oh, that is a clever idea. That is a clever idea. I've never thought about that. I'll make a note of that, Zeno. Thank you. I appreciate that. Anybody else got any ideas? Let me know. And Robert says he told me what the picture was. I didn't see it. Robert, I'll get in touch and you can tell me what it is in person. Doesn't matter. You came in third with a wonderful picture. Well done, you. All right, we're out of time. Thank you, everybody, for coming. I will see you on Thursday. I hope everybody's having a good 2025 so far. And yeah, I will see you all soon. And Robert, I'll get in touch with you shortly. Goodbye, everybody. Have a good evening.